Here's verse 15 of the 21st chapter of the Gospel of John. We are in the aftermath of the time of feeding, having breakfast there on the shore of the Sea of Galilee. And now we have this fascinating conversation that begins here. Peter, of course, has already displayed something of his typical personality, leaping into the water, swimming the 100 yards or so to the shore to see Jesus, when it becomes clear that that's who is the one standing on the shore there. And now Jesus raises a question to Peter, well known, of course. So we have hota, which is a conjunction that means when. So when, postpositive un, therefore. Aristesan, this is from Aristao, means to eat a meal, but the meal is usually a lesser meal. It would commonly be applied to breakfast or a snack, we might say, in our vocabulary. So when they had eaten, this is in the third person plural, aorist active indicative. So when they had eaten, or when they had finished eating, lege, from lego I say, third person singular present active indicative, to, the indirect object, to Simone Petro, of course, the full name of Simon Peter. And then the subject, ho Jesus, so Jesus says to Simon Peter. John, of course, using the full name of Simon Peter here, although the address by Jesus will simply apply to Simone, Simon. And there's something telling about that, in a sense, acknowledging the fact that this is Simon. He's been known to be a vacillating character in some cases, certainly one with deep motions that display themselves, but not always utterly consistent. But now Jesus puts the question to him, Simone, Simon, Ionu. This is usually translated son of Jonas. It's literally of Jonas in the genitive singular, this masculine proper name. So Jesus says to Simon Peter, or to Simon actually, as it's stated here, agapos, from agapao, I love, second person singular, present active indicative, set up as a question here. Simon, agapos, lovest thou, or do you love me, the direct object? Do you love me, pleon, an adverb, which means more, and then two-tone, than these, demonstrative pronoun in the genitive masculine. Could be neuter as well, plural. So do you love me more than these? There's been a bit of a debate about what the these is. Some would say, do you love me more than these fish? In other words, do you love following me more than returning to your career of being a fisherman? I think that's unlikely. Seems more likely that do you love me more than these other disciples? Because, of course, that was exactly what Peter had protested earlier, that even if the others forsake you, I will hang in there. And, of course, Peter had been conspicuously failing to do that very thing. So do you really love me more than these, is the question that is put to Peter here. Lege, same word. He says, present tense, auto, indirect object, in the dative masculine singular. He says to him, nigh, the word for yes. So yes, Kyrie in the vocative, yes, Lord. And then su, the nominative, the second person pronoun, you, oidos. This is from edo, to see, usually means to know. It's the perfect. So this is going to be the second person singular perfect active indicative. You have known and continue to know. It's a somewhat emphatic idea. Hoti, that, and then philo. Of course, it's significant that the question asked by Jesus was agapos. The response given by Peter is philo. From phileo, to love. This is the love of mutual affection. It's the love of a warm kind of friendship, or even the love you might speak of in the warm fellowship of marriage, something like that. Jesus asked the word agapos, which is more the superlative form of love, but is not quite so given to an emotional content. So, do you love me? Are you devoted to me? In a way that exceeds maybe the devotion of these others, as you've at least previously claimed. And Peter responds, referring to the love of his affection. He loves Jesus, and he loves him in a way that is filled with emotion. That's really the sense of it. You know that I love se. The direct object here, this is the second person accusative. Then Jesus responds, lege, so he says, once again, auto, the indirect object, to him. Bosca, from bosco, it means to feed. It's a word distinctively that applies to grazing, to animals that might be feeding, either cattle or sheep, something like that, so feed. And then very endearing here, ta, the neuter article, this is in the accusative, arnia, this is the word for sheep, but it especially is the word that is diminutive in its character, the lambs. So feed my lambs, presumably referring to those who would be new converts, indeed the very new converts probably that Jesus has in mind, anticipating the day of Pentecost when 3,000 would be converted on the spot, and Peter's task of feeding the lambs that were newly arriving in this community of faith, the kingdom of God, would be in mind here. So it's the first of 3 times Jesus puts a question like this to him. Each one has its own subtle nuance, but here the initial question, do you love me more than these? As you claim to, and Peter, of course, is appealing now to the depth of his emotion as he responds in the affirmative.